Hello, and thank you for tuning into this conversation on leading through a crisis, where we engage with leaders from around the world and discuss how to lead in these uncertain times. Today, I'm joined by Roger Osbaldiston from Auckland, New Zealand. Roger is the president of LeaderImpact. LeaderImpact is a global organization that helps leaders grow professionally, personally, and spiritually for increasing impact. Roger went to the Auckland University in New Zealand, graduated in economics, politics, and geography, spent a number of years working for the government in New Zealand, and then went on to work with a non-for-profit organization giving leadership globally. So Roger, welcome to today's conversation.
Thanks, Nathan. It's great to be with you and joining in the conversation together.
Well, this is a unique opportunity because the footprint of LeaderImpact is global. You're involved in every continent of the world and have something going on in about 400 cities or close to that. And so my guess is that over this week, even you've had conversations from around the world. But Roger, what's been the biggest standout to you as you in this current crisis? How has it been different than anything you've seen before?
Yeah, truly, this is nothing like I've experienced, certainly in my lifetime. I think the thing that has stood out the most to me over the last few weeks has been just the truly global nature of what's happening at the moment. As you mentioned, I get the chance to talk to leaders around the world, and in the last couple of days, I've talked to leaders in about 8 different countries. It's not like the global financial crisis in 2008. It's not like 9/11, which affected the US and then spread to different places in 2001. This really is something, if you look at the world map, every country is being impacted by this. It's just incredible, and we're seeing some of the best and some of the worst of humanity coming out in this as people wrestle with and think about how to cope through the crisis for them and their loved ones and the organizations that they're part of leading and serving.
Well, let's bring this a little bit closer to home, Roger. How has this crisis impacted you directly?
Yeah, obviously a lot. But borders are closing. I live in New Zealand, and we're not as hard as hit at this point as many other places are. But certainly, in terms of my daily work and going about things, a lot has changed. So, I'm currently at home working from my home office. While we're very used to online meetings and conference calls, I also usually travel a lot. So in the next 4 or 5 months, I've had 4 international trips planned and events going to conferences. All of that has been cancelled. And so we're really needing to think about how do we do things differently. New Zealand has a little bit of we have a little phrase, she'll be right, things will be fine. And that is actually a good thing, I think, and a bad thing for us, because it's good in that people are relaxed and we have this sort of confidence that, things will be fine. But also there's a little bit of complacency that can enter in as well, and realizing that we need to take seriously the concerns that are out there and act as needed.
A quote that been running through my mind over the last couple of days is a quote by Napoleon Bonaparte, and he said that leaders are dealers in hope. So let me ask you this, Roger, maybe on the personal level, where do you find hope in the middle of crisis, and how do you self-lead?
I think in the middle of a crisis, often we narrow down and kind of see what's right in front of us, and that overwhelms us, and we get into kind of catastrophic thinking about where things are going. So for me, it's the opportunity to pull back and get perspective. And for me, as a Christian, it's my faith and trust in God, in that He is actually in control. I'm not invincible. I'm not running the world. That God actually is overseeing the world and the events and things, and nothing that's happening now is surprising to Him. Jesus said, do not worry, for no one can add a single hour to his life by worrying. And I think about, the current situation we're in and the concerns of illness and fear, that we can't add a single hour to our lives if we are worrying more about it. There are other things, that we can do to be prepared and be ready. We do all we can. We're going to do what we can in this current crisis, and we're going to trust God in that.
Well, as a leader, Roger, I'm always trying to learn from other people. And So my a question for you, as we wrap this up, what are some of your best principles that you've got that you'd like to share with us in terms of how do we lead through a crisis?
Nathan, one of my favorite books that I read in the last few years is Essentialism by Greg Keown. And he really gets on what are the essential things in life. And I think this is a principle that's true in crisis, and it's true in many times, is thinking through what are the few things that we can focus on or manage, and then not be concerned about everything else. I think, so I've been sort of thinking through what are the sort of three things that I can do as a leader in this time, that I uniquely as leader can do. One is to lead myself through the crisis first, and then our people and organization. And I think that for leaders in this situation, it's pacing yourself and thinking through ways that you can kind of pull back and get perspective, take a break from things. If you're in a panic and in a crisis as a leader, that's going to spread through the organization and people that are around you. The second piece is to look for new opportunities. It's incredible. I've watched leaders who are pivoting and adjusting to new opportunities that this is actually providing. So for us in our organization, a lot of what we do actually has been face-to-face and small groups and meeting with people, events and conferences. And a lot of that's simply not possible now. So I've just been encouraged by the creativity as people have taken those events online and looked for opportunities to connect and engage in different ways. And the third and final thing I would say is don't worry. Do what you can, but worrying is not going to add a single hour to your life. It's not going to add a single dollar to your organization or your company. But don't worry. Sit back, get perspective, and do what you can, but trust God for the rest.
Those are some great principles. Thank you, Roger, for your time as well as for your insight. And thank you for joining us today. If you aren't already, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll notify you of the next conversation of Leading Through a Crisis. Have a good day.